The school bell rang and students rushed out the gate. It was the last day before the long weekend. Everyone was happy. Everyone except Leo. Leo was a quiet boy. He didn't have many friends. He liked to walk home alone, thinking about space and creatures he read about in his science books. That day, he took a different path. He didn't know why, but something pulled him toward the back of the school, near the old fence by the storage yard. That part of the school was quiet. No one went there anymore. It was full of weeds, broken tools, and garbage. But as Leo passed the tall, rusty fence, he stopped. He heard a sound. It wasn't wind. It wasn't an animal. It was a soft, weak whimper. Leo's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer to the fence and listened again. The sound came again, like a cry, but not human. Carefully, he pushed aside a torn sheet of metal that covered a hole under the fence. He crouched low and peeked through, and then his heart stopped. There, hidden in the shadow of the wall, was a small creature. It was chained. Its body was thin, covered in dull purple scales. Two small wings hung low on its back, torn and bleeding. Its tail was curled tight. A heavy collar was around its neck with a thick iron chain bolted to the ground. The creature lifted its head. Two glowing silver eyes looked straight at Leo. Leo gasped and stepped back. A dragon?" he whispered. The creature didn't roar, it didn't growl, it didn't attack. It lowered its headways and gave a soft, tired cry. Leo's chest tightened. This wasn't the dragon from his books, the fire-breathing monster that destroyed cities. This was a baby, and it looked weak, scared, and cold. He looked around. No one was near. He slowly crawled through the hole in the fence and stepped closer. The little dragon watched him but didn't move. Its body shook as if it hadn't eaten in days. Leo reached into his backpack and pulled out a sandwich. He tore off a piece of bread and held it out with a shaky hand. The dragon sniffed, then slowly, carefully took the bread with its mouth and swallowed. Leo smiled. "You're not scary," he whispered. "You're just a baby." The dragon blinked and lowered its head again. Leo saw the skin around the collar. It was red and bruised. Whoever put that chain there had done it to hurt. "Who did this to you?" Leo asked softly. The dragon didn't answer, of course, but a low, sad sound came from its throat. Leo looked around. He had to do something. He didn't know what kind of creature it was. He didn't know why it was here. But one thing was clear. Someone left it to die, and no one else knew. Leo touched the chain. It was thick and cold. The lock looked old. He couldn't break it with his hands. "I'll come back," he whispered. "I'll help you, I promise." The dragon made a soft sound, like it understood. Leo turned and crawled back through the fence, brushing dust off his uniform. His heart was racing. This was no normal day anymore. He couldn't tell the teachers. They'd call security. He couldn't tell his parents. They'd be scared. But he couldn't walk away either. As he walked home, Leo looked up at the sky. Clouds were forming. A storm was coming. He knew he had to act fast. That night, Leo couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about those silver eyes, about the chain, about how the little dragon hadn't even tried to bite him. He opened his school bag. He packed a water bottle, a flashlight, and the leftover food from dinner. He also took a small bolt cutter from his dad's old tool drawer in the garage. "I'll free you," he whispered to the dark. The next day, while everyone played games and watched movies, Leo slipped away. He ran to the back fence again, heart pounding. But when he crawled through the hole this time, he froze. The dragon was lying flat on the ground, eyes closed, not moving. "Hey!" Leo shouted in a whisper. "Wake up!" He ran to it, dropped to his knees. The little dragon opened its eyes slowly, too weak to lift its head. Leo reached for the chain. This time, he wasn't afraid. The bolt cutter shook in Leo's hands. He had never broken anything before. Not a rule, not a chain, not even a promise. But now, he was about to break all three. He kneeled beside the tiny dragon, breathing fast. The creature didn't move. It just lay there, its breathing slow, its body cold. Its wings looked worse, up close like they had been slashed by someone cruel. Leo touched the collar gently. The little dragon flinched. "I'm not here to hurt you," Leo whispered. He placed the bolt cutter over the rusty chain and squeezed with all his strength. Click. The blade didn't cut fully, but it cracked the metal. He tried again. This time, the chain snapped. The loud clang of the broken link echoed in the empty yard. The dragon flinched but didn't run. Instead, it looked at Leo. And then it did something that made him freeze. It licked his hand. Leo blinked. I guess that means thank you," he said softly. But what happened next made his heart hurt even more. The baby dragon, its body still weak, crawled forward, leaned against his leg, and cried. No roars, no fire, just soft, broken sounds. The sound of someone scared, alone, hurt. Leo bit his lip. "You're not a monster," he whispered. "You're just a baby, and someone hurt you bad." He opened his backpack and pulled out his lunch. He placed small pieces of fruit near the dragon's mouth. Slowly, carefully, the dragon ate. "I'll call you Zira," Leo said. "Is that okay?" The dragon blinked slowly. Zyra. The name felt right. Leo knew he couldn't leave her out here. Not with the broken chain. Someone might return, or worse, she might not survive the cold. He looked around. Then he had an idea. Behind, the fence was an old tool shed. No one had entered it for years. The teacher said it was full of junk and the door barely worked. Perfect. Leo wrapped Zira gently in his school jacket, lifting her small body into his arms. She was light. Too light. Her bones could be felt through her thin skin. "Don't worry. I've got you now," he whispered. He crawled back through the fence hole with her in his arms and slipped toward the shed, keeping low, hiding behind broken fences and tall grass. Finally, he reached the rusty door. It creaked loudly as he pushed it open. Inside it was dusty and dark. Cobwebs hung from every corner, but there was an old mattress, some crates, and a broken heater. It would have to do. He laid Zira down and covered her with an old blanket. "Rest," he said. "I'll come back every day. I'll bring food and water. You just have to stay quiet." Zira gave a soft grunt, barely a sound. And then, she closed her eyes. The next day at school, Leo couldn't focus. Every sound felt sharp, every laugh too loud. He didn't care about homework. He didn't care about recess. He only cared about the baby dragon hidden in the tool shed behind the fence. During lunch, he sneaked away. Inside the shed, Zyra was still sleeping. Her breathing was stronger today. Her wings moved a little when he entered. "Hey," Leo said with a smile. "I brought you eggs and fruit." Zyra slowly lifted her head. She sniffed the food, then looked at him with her silver eyes. Leo reached out carefully. Zyra leaned forward and rested her head against his chest. Leo froze. This time he didn't move back. He placed his hand gently on her head. "You're not bad," he whispered. "You're just alone, like me." She purred softly, but outside the shed, danger was growing. Someone had seen strange claw marks behind the fence. One of the teachers complained to the headmaster, and a guard was sent to check the area. Leo didn't know yet. He didn't hear the clicking of boots through the yard. He only sat inside the shed holding a tiny, tired alien dragon in his lap. The sun rose slowly, but Leo was already awake. He couldn't stop thinking about Zyra, the tiny dragon no one believed existed. The one everyone feared, yet only he had seen cry. While other students worried about test scores or football matches, Leo stuffed snacks and a small blanket into his backpack and rushed to school early. He wasn't excited about class, he just wanted to see her. At the back of the school, Hidden behind the old fence and the tool shed, Zyra waited. When Leo unlocked the shed, her silver eyes blinked in the dark. She stretched her wings slightly, still sore but healing. The cuts on her sides had started to dry. Her breathing was no longer weak. Leo grinned. "You're stronger today." Zyra made a soft sound, like a tiny chirp. He laid out breakfast, sliced, apples, bread, and a boiled egg. Zyra sniffed everything like it was treasure. She ate slowly, carefully, her small tail wagging across the floor. When she finished, she crawled over and rested her head on Leo's foot. Leo smiled and sat down. Beside her, he reached into his backpack and pulled out a book, a simple story about stars and planets. "Want me to read?" he asked. Zyra blinked once, slowly. Leo opened the book and read aloud, his voice soft and steady. As he read about distant moons and glowing skies, the little dragon curled up beside him and drifted to sleep. A knock on the shed door shattered the quiet. Leo froze. "Hey, anyone in there?" It was Mr. Gavin, the school janitor. Leo's eyes went wide. He looked at Zyra. She was asleep. He covered her quickly with the old blanket and ran to the door, trying to act normal. He opened it halfway. Hi?" Mr. Gavin narrowed his eyes. "You're not supposed to be in here, Leo." I was just reading," Leo said quickly, hiding his panic. The old man leaned forward slightly. "Someone found claw marks behind the fence. Looks like something tried to escape." Leo's heart pounded. He looked calm on the outside, but inside, everything felt like it was falling apart. Mr. Gavin studied him. Then, in a quiet voice, he said, "Whatever you're hiding, boy, be careful. Not everyone's kind to creatures. That looked dangerous." Then he walked away. Leo closed the door slowly, locking it behind him. Zyra stirred, peeking from under the blanket. "Shh," Leo whispered, placing a hand on her head. "It's okay. Just sleep." That afternoon, rumors spread through the school. Someone said there's a wild creature near the field. "I heard it has wings. I bet it's an escaped alien pet. I hope they catch it. If it bites someone, we're all in trouble." Leo sat at the back of class, silent. He wanted to scream, "She's not dangerous. She's just a baby." But no one would believe him. To them, dragons were stories or threats, not friends. After school, Leo rushed back to the shed. He opened the door slowly, heart heavy with worry. But when he stepped inside, he smiled. Zyra was asleep again, curled into a perfect little ball. She looked peaceful, safe, like a tired child after a long day. Leo sat beside her and whispered, "They don't understand you, but I do." He looked at her wings, folded like tiny blankets. He noticed something new, a small glowing mark on her chest. Faint, but there, almost like a tiny star. He didn't know what it meant, but it looked beautiful, special. Outside the shed, shadows moved again. A teacher had seen Leo sneaking to the back after class, and the school had already alerted security. They were coming. The way. Wind was soft that morning, but Leo's heart felt heavy. Something wasn't right. He sat through class staring at his notebook, but not hearing a single word. The whispers were growing louder now. Someone had seen him near the old shed. Someone had told the headmaster, "They're going to find her." Leo clenched his fists under the desk. When lunch break came, he rushed to the back of the school again. This time he checked every corner. No teachers, no cameras, no eyes. Then he slipped through the fence and opened the door of the shed. "Zyra," he whispered. A small yawn answered him. The baby dragon lifted her head from the pile of blankets. Her wings fluttered gently. She looked better today, more awake, more alive. Her wounds were healing. Leo smiled and sat beside her. "I brought you more food," he said, showing her a box of rice and cooked vegetables. "I think you like carrots." Zyra tilted her head. She reached toward the box, sniffed the food, and then did something new. She spoke. Ooh. Leo froze. His eyes widened. What did you say? The dragon looked at him again. Her voice was slow, rough, like she was still learning. Oh. Leo's heart jumped. You know my name? He whispered. Zira nodded. He laughed, a soft, shocked laugh. You know who I am? Zira crawled closer and touched her forehead, to his chest. Then she repeated, Leo. Friend. Outside the shed, Boots walked over gravel. Mr. Gavin stood with 2 guards. He pointed to the corner where the grass had been flattened. I think he's hiding something in there, he said. One of the guards nodded. Orders are clear. Anything alien and unauthorized will be removed immediately. Back inside, Leo was still stunned. Zira had spoken, not just random words, but his name. His name. Leo touched her head gently. You're learning fast. You're special, Zira. Zira made a soft humming sound and laid beside him. He read her a few pages from a children's book. She listened quietly, her tail tapping the wooden floor like a drumbeat. But then, bang! The shed door shook. Leo jumped up. Zira growled softly and moved behind him. Open up! A voice shouted. This is school property. Leo's heart pounded. He looked around. There was nowhere to hide her. The door rattled again. Leo stood in front of Zira. His voice shook, but he said, You can't have her. She's not dangerous. The door burst open. 2 guards stepped in, followed by Mr. Gavin. Everyone froze. Zira didn't move. She stayed behind Leo, her silver eyes watching. Step aside, boy, one guard said. No, Leo said. She's not a monster. She's my friend. Mr. Gavin stepped forward. He looked at Zira, then at Leo. This is the creature everyone's been talking about, he asked slowly. Leo nodded. She's not hurting anyone. I've been feeding her, taking care of her. She's a dragon, the second guard said. We don't take chances with their kind. She knows my name, Leo said quietly. She speaks. She listens. She trusts me. Zira peeked from behind him and softly said, Leo, no hurt. Mr. Gavin's eyes widened. The guards looked at each other. She speaks, one of them whispered. Leo nodded. She's not just a creature. She's a baby. She was left to die. I found her in chains. Zira stepped forward, still weak but standing tall. She looked at Mr. Gavin and the guards. No bad, she said. Just me. No fight. Leo good. Everyone was silent. Even the wind outside had stopped. Mr. Gavin's face softened. He turned to the guards. Let me speak with the headmaster. This isn't what we thought. Later that day, as the sun dipped low, Leo sat beside Zira, in the shed again. You were brave, he whispered. Zira rested her head in his lap. Leo, friend, she said once more. The next morning was quiet, too quiet. Leo walked through the school gates with a strange feeling in his chest. He had barely slept. All night, he kept remembering the look on the guard's face. The way Zira had said, Leo, friend. Right, in front of them. Would they believe her, or would they still see her as a threat? He didn't know. He only knew one thing. Zira was in danger. In the school office, the guards were already talking to the headmaster. She spoke. We all heard it, said one. That doesn't make her safe, said another. She's still a dragon. That species started the firestorm war. The headmaster looked worried. This is a human school. We can't protect something like that. What if it grows? What if it turns? One guard leaned closer. We need to remove it today. Leo skipped his first class. He ran to the shed the moment the teacher turned around. He crouched, pushed the creaky door open, and froze. Zira was waiting by the wall. She wasn't resting. She wasn't eating. She was shaking. Zira, Leo whispered. She looked up at him. Her silver eyes were full of fear. She had sensed something. Leo stepped in and locked the door behind him. "They're coming," he said quietly. "I can feel it too." Zyra crawled toward him and pressed her head against his side. She was bigger now, just a little, but still small enough to hold. Leo sat beside her and stroked her neck gently. "We'll figure something out," he whispered. "I won't let them take you." She closed her eyes, but the peace didn't last long. Minutes later, boom, the shed door shook with a blast. Leo jumped up. Zyra growled and backed into the shadows. "Open up now," shouted a voice. "This is security. Step away from the creature." Leo's heart raced. His hands trembled. He stood in front of Zyra without thinking. The door was kicked open. 2 armored guards stormed in, weapons raised, laser rifles glowing blue. "Move away, boy," one of them barked. Leo didn't move. "She's not dangerous," he shouted. "She's just scared." Behind him, Zyra made a small whimper. Not a growl, not fire, just fear. "Back away," yelled the second guard. "This is your last warning." "No," Leo shouted. "If you shoot, you'll have to go through me." The room froze. The guards hesitated, and then Mr. Gavin entered behind them. "Hold your fire," he said firmly. He stepped into the dusty light and looked straight at Leo, who was standing like a shield in front of the tiny, trembling dragon. "She hasn't hurt anyone," Gavin said. "You said it yourselves. She spoke. She trusts him." "She's still an alien dragon," one guard growled. "And he's still a child," Mr. Gavin snapped. "Would you shoot through a boy to kill something that's barely the size of a dog?" The guards looked at each other. Zyra peeked from behind Leo, eyes wide, lips shaking. She whispered softly, "Leo, scared." Leo turned around and gently touched her head. "It's okay. I'm here. I won't let them hurt you." The guards lowered their weapons. Mr. Gavin stepped forward and turned to the headmaster who had followed them in. "We need to think carefully," he said. "This isn't war. This is a child, protecting another." The headmaster looked at Leo. "Is she really safe with you?" he asked. Leo nodded. "She never tried to hurt me, even when she was in chains, even when she was starving." "She's just a baby," Mr. Gavin added. "She didn't ask to be born in a dragon's body." Sarah looked around at the humans, then slowly stepped forward beside Leo. With a shaking voice, she said, "No hurt. Zyra, just want stay." The room fell silent again. Even the guards looked unsure now. That evening, the shed was empty. Zyra had been moved, not taken, but placed under watch inside a private lab on the edge of town. She had food, warmth, and one small window. Leo was allowed to visit once a day. He sat beside her that first night and held her paw. "I'll get you out of here one day," he whispered. "Not in secret, but in the open, where everyone sees you the way I do." Zyra placed her head on his shoulder. "Leo, home." The next day, the entire school buzzed with whispers. "Did you hear about the dragon? They say a boy was protecting it. I think it's still on campus, somewhere." But Leo said nothing. He walked the halls with quiet eyes and a burning heart. His thoughts were only about one thing: Zyra. She wasn't in the shed anymore. She was being kept in a small glass room at the town's science center, placed under observation. The officials didn't call her a prisoner, but Leo knew what a cage looked like, and Zyra, his friend, was inside one. That afternoon, Leo was allowed one short visit. He stood outside the clear wall. Zyra sat on the other side, her wings tucked, her body small on the cold floor. She looked tired, confused, and lonely. When she saw Leo, her silver eyes lit up. She crawled to the glass and pressed her nose to it. Leo pressed his hand to the same spot. "Zyra," he whispered. She mouthed the word back. "Leo." A scientist entered the room behind Leo. She wore a white coat and had a clipboard in her hand. "We're still testing her DNA," she said. She's not like other dragons. She's smaller, weaker, likely a rejected one. That's why she was chained. She was left to die, Leo said, his voice low. By her own kind, and nearly by mine too. The scientist looked at him. What do you want us to do, Leo? She's not human. She's not a threat either. That doesn't mean the council won't vote to send her away. Leo turned quickly. Send her where? The woman hesitated. To an off-world facility. For safety. Leo's heart stopped. They were going to take her away. The next morning, the town held a council meeting. Officials, parents, and teachers gathered to discuss the dragon incident. The Science Center broadcasted it live for the school. Students watched from classrooms. Leo sat in the front row, face pale, fists tight. One councilman stood and said alien dragons were responsible for the firestorm attacks 15 years ago. We lost hundreds. We cannot take risks now. Another added, even if it's a child, it's still a dragon. The room murmured in agreement. Leo stood up. He didn't raise his hand. He didn't wait for permission. He just stood and shouted, she's just a baby. The room went silent. All eyes turned to the boy. Leo's voice shook, but he kept speaking. She was chained, left to die. I found her, fed her. She never hurt me. Not once. He took a breath. She knows my name. She calls me. Her friend, she calls me home. The crowd stared, unsure. Then Leo said the words that made even the guards lower their heads. She was more human than all of us. Later that day, someone left the Science Center gate open. Leo ran in. He found Zyra alone again, curled in the corner. Come on, he said. We're going outside. He led her to the open grass just behind the center building, where no one could see for now. Zyra stepped on the grass, blinking at the sunlight. She took one deep breath and stretched her wings. For the first time since Leo had found her, she flew just a few feet clumsily, but it was real. She landed near him and looked up. Leo, free? She asked, unsure. He smiled. Not yet, but we're closer. The next morning, something unbelievable happened. One of the guards who had once pointed a gun at her walked into the center holding a small wrapped package. Inside was a soft, warm blanket. For the kid, he muttered. Then he left. The skies were soft and golden that morning. A gentle wind moved across the trees behind the Science Center. Birds sang, but the most beautiful sound came from just above the ground. Wings, small wings, unsteady, but determined. Zyra was flying, again. Not high, not fast, but free. Leo stood on the grass below, arms crossed, eyes full of light. He had watched her grow from a chained creature, weak, silent, dying into this brave little dragon who now laughed in the wind. She made a wobbly turn and flapped toward him. He took a step back. Careful, you'll crash! She landed poorly and rolled in the grass. Then she looked up at him, tail wagging, and laughed. Yes, laughed. A light sound, strange and broken, but real. Leo ran over and helped her up. Zyra rested her head on his shoulder and whispered a word she had been saving. Brother. Leo froze. His heart swelled. He looked at her. What did you say? Zyra looked shy for the first time in weeks. Brother. Leo, 'tis my brother. He blinked and then smiled. Yeah, he whispered. I guess I am. News of the council meeting spread. People talked. Opinions shifted. A boy had stood up and defended a baby alien dragon like family, and slowly, the world began to listen. The guards who once came with rifles now came with food. The teacher who once warned, Leo now left him books about dragon speech and learning patterns. Even the headmaster, once cold, called Leo into his office with something strange on his face. A smile. You showed everyone something rare, Leo, he said. You reminded us. That fear can't be louder than kindness. Leo nodded. She's not dangerous. I know that now, the headmaster said. She has a home here, if she wants it. A few days later, the Science Center held a small event. Students, teachers, and a few town officials stood on the lawn. Zaira sat next to Leo on a raised platform, wearing a red scarf a student had knitted for her. She looked around nervously. "So many people," she whispered. Leo leaned closer. "Just be yourself." The mayor stepped forward. He spoke for a few minutes, but everyone only remembered the last part. "She came to us in chains. She stayed because of a boy's courage. Today we welcome Zaira, not as a creature, but as one of our own." The crowd clapped. Zaira blinked in surprise. She looked at Leo. "They like me?" Leo nodded. "They're learning to." Zaira smiled. Weeks passed and Zaira moved into a special garden home beside the school, built just for her. Leo visited every day after class. They flew together, higher each time. She now read full sentences, solved puzzles, and even helped in science class. But she always said the same thing every night before sleep. "Leo, brother." He never got tired of hearing it. One day, as they sat by the school fountain, Zaira looked at the clouds and asked, "Do you think other baby dragons are out there? Like me?" Leo nodded slowly. "Maybe. What if they're chained too? Then maybe," he said, "we'll help them. Together." Zaira tilted her head. "Me and you?" He smiled. "Brother and sister." She grinned, stretched her wings wide, and shouted playfully, "Then let's fly." And together, they did.